Good evening and welcome to another episode of What's So Funny, the show that probes the minds, the brains, the psyches of the people who make the funny. Tonight, Paul Hooper is our guest. I talked to the North Carolina native one morning a week or so ago. If you had the chance to see him on stage at the Comedy Mix or Laugh Lines, you might be surprised to learn that pretty much everything he says on stage comes directly from his life, as you're about to hear. But you don't need to have seen his act to appreciate his story. It's pretty compelling either way, so hang on tight. One note, at about the 30-minute mark, my primary recorder flaked out. Being the pro that I am, I had a backup. The sound quality changes, not for better, not for worse. You'll still be able to hear it in all its glory. So, here now, my chat with comedian Paul Hooper. Paul, we both have caffeine in us. Are you a morning guy? Why are we doing this at 10:30 in the morning?
I don't know. It's the only time that would work, I think. And then I just 10:30 is okay. I can deal with 10:30.
Yeah, but tomorrow you're going to deal with what, 4:30?
Yeah, I have to be at the airport at 4 a.m.
Yeah,
something like that. So it's one of those just
Will
stay
you
up.
Yeah, you'll just stay up.
Yeah,
And then you fly back to New York,
right.
where you live. How
Yeah.
long have you been living in New York?
About a year now. So it's good. It's still new to me.
Oh, so where were you before that?
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Where you're from?
Yeah, I've lived in North Carolina all my life. I did the road. I started the road probably 10 years ago and just was based out of Charlotte. It's actually a good location for East Coast work because I could drive everywhere. And then for years, I thought about moving to New York or L.A., and then finally got it all together last year.
And why New York over L.A.?
I made 2 trips to L.A. I thought I liked my trips to L.A., but I think New York made more sense. I just want to focus on stand-up, and that's what everyone told me is like stand-up is that's the best place for it, to just get tons of spots. That's all I want to do is write, keep writing some jokes and get a bunch of stage time, and then I could still make it to all my work on the East Coast. A lot of times, with L.A., it's always you got to jump on a flight to get pretty much anywhere, and then New York, within 8 hours, I can make it a lot of places. So it made sense.
Are you finding that in New York you are getting tons of stage time and it is what you expected?
Yeah, it was one of those things. I was sort of braced for the worst and how hard it was going to be. So it's sort of what I expected. And I had some friends up there originally, and they helped me get started. And I started picking up spots at these independent rooms. And so, yeah, it's I've gotten a decent amount of spots in the last year. And like now I like it, and I can go to these rooms and my friends are there. I have this circle of friends, and it's just fun to go out now. The first few
Other
months
comics, you mean?
Yeah, other comics. And yeah, in the first few months it's just a hard city to adapt to. So the first few months were that. It was nerve-wracking. But now I've grown a little bit more comfortable with it, and I enjoy going back there now. I used to dread the first 6 months. I moved there last January when there was just 2 or 3 blizzards, and I couldn't get out of the airport to my gigs on the road. And then driving back into New York City with my car is just, it makes you panicky. I would white knuckle it all the way in because of the traffic and the tolls and everything. And now I'm just sort of grown accustomed to it. It's just, you adapt to anything. So
That is so true. Yeah.
I've just I'm over it now. It took about a year though.
To adapt. Now, when you moved there, did you have people that you knew? Because you've been in comedy a while now, right? So you obviously knew some comics who lived there.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, I had a group of friends. There's some guys from the South that had moved up a few years ago. So guys helped me get started and helped me get on stage in a few places.
Do they all, do those Northerners look at you Southerners and go, Southern comics? Like, is there sort of a clique there, North versus South?
No, I didn't know. I didn't feel any of that.
Yeah.
No, because this guy's from all over. Like in my neighborhood in Queens, there's just comics from all over. So my buddy's from Cincinnati. My roommate's from Minneapolis. There's comics from all over. So no, I never felt anything like that.
Yeah, it seems all the comics congregate in Queens, don't they?
Yeah, Astoria, Queens is popular. It's
Yeah.
right by the airport. It's almost a joke. Like people make fun of how many comics are there. But you can have a car there. You're close to LaGuardia. There's a little more space. It's cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of comics in Brooklyn now too.
So, coming from North Carolina, were you before moving to New York? Was there like a Southern circuit, or you were just touring all over?
Yeah, I started in the Southeast. I started with that, and then I broke into sort of the Midwest. But yeah, there's a lot, and I sort of gravitated towards some friends because Charlotte didn't have really a comedy scene, and still doesn't.
Oh,
It has a
really?
great club there, but there's not a lot of guys doing it, or they would move to Atlanta or New York or LA, and so there would be a guys like I'd have a buddy from Birmingham and a buddy from Memphis that we all respected each other and sort of would bounce jokes off each other, and then but we weren't in one city. We were all on the road, and we would sort of talk on the phone. So I've never had this sense of community with a comedy scene
Hmm.
until I got to New York.
And when did you start?
1998. It's ridiculous.
Until 2011.
Yeah.
No sense of community. So you're just a
No.
lone wolf.
Yeah, it was like that. I would have my friends. I would talk to them on the phone, but I wasn't for years. For the last 10 years, I was on the road. I would go do comedy on the road, come home. I have 4 days off, and I wasn't going to an open mic or a show to
Because there
work.
wasn't one.
No, I just write new stuff and then shove it in my sets on the road, headline sets or whatever. But there were a couple open mics that popped up. The last year I was there, I went to a couple places, but before that, no.
Did you ever run one?
No, I
No.
never ran a room or a show or anything. This is all foreign when comics do that. I'm like, no, I don't know what's going on. No. I just went to a comedy club and either did a guest spot. Then the comedy club closed for 5 years. There was no comedy club in Charlotte. And when I moved, they reopened.
He's gone now.
It's
It's
gone.
safe.
It's open. And I went and did a week there, and it's a great club. But yeah, for 5 years, I would just come home and do laundry and rest and then go back on the road and think about comedy.
No club, but you had the Bobcats.
The basketball team?
Yeah.
Oh, Christ. Jordan's an owner? That's what I've heard.
That's right, yeah. Oh,
That's how clueless I am.
yeah. Your town.
Listen, I'm not really proud of Charlotte. It's
beautiful, isn't it?
I guess it's all right. I was raised there, but I'm not big on the South. I love the club that I started with there, the Comedy Zone, and the guys that supported me, and my family's there, so that's it. But I don't know if I would ever move back to Charlotte, really, because I don't feel it's a very generic city. It's all Bank of America, NASCAR and stuff like that. And they've ripped down everything historical. There's not a lot of culture in Charlotte. They have this one side they try to put like the art scene in called Noda, and it just seems very contrived, and it's 2 blocks. Doesn't make sense. It's just a banking center.
So what got you into comedy coming from there? There wasn't a real presence in town. Obviously, you were watching it on TV or buying records. What was it?
Yeah. I started thinking about it as a kid. Like, I loved anything, even like in elementary school. My buddies would tell each other jokes in the lunchroom, and we'd do that. So I didn't really seriously think about it until I was a teenager. And when I got out of high school, barely, I was like, I'm going to do stand-up. But I realistically, I didn't have the nuts to do it. So I worked dead-end jobs, thought about going back to college, signed up for the Navy, backed out. So from 19 to 22 was just trying to summon the courage to do it. And then at 22, I went by I used to go by the comedy club there and just ask about open mics.
Just to ask.
And I never would go. And then I went by one time to ask for an open mic, and they said they were running a workshop or a class thing.
Oh, did you take it?
Yeah, I took it. And
How much did you learn?
I didn't learn anything. They didn't change any of my lines. The only thing it was good for me easing me on stage. Like we went up in front of each other before the real show. And
that's what I heard. It's great to spur you on to do it.
It was like these little baby steps before you had to go in front of 300 people. And I guess that's what I needed. But as far as no one helped me with my jokes or anything like that, I still wrote it all and went up that way. But the idea of going in front of 300 people cold, just right off the street, I don't know. It was too scary.
And the teacher was a pro in town?
No. It was
just some guy.
Club owners.
Oh.
Yeah, it's really weird. And one club owner was who's still in it and owns the club there, who's really got a great sense of humor and a really dark, like wicked sense of humor.
That's where you get it from.
It's great. And the other club owner didn't know anything. So I listened to the one, and yeah, we're still close friends because he's got, he understands where I come from. But still, he was more like, I like that joke. I say just go with it. And that's what I did. He just gave me a little bit of encouragement, and then I got on stage.
And so that first time on stage, were you the dark son of a bitch that you are now?
Yeah, I was dark, and I
Even
was
then?
angry.
At 22.
Yeah, I was always pissed. Puberty's when that happened.
And so that's off stage as well.
Yeah. I have anger in me. I mean, I'm not going to shout at you now in this hotel room.
Good.
But, yeah, it's not an act. I feel like I've always had that. I've always been cynical. And I guess these dark thoughts, I didn't really think of them as dark thoughts. But, yeah, it was that. I haven't looked at the tape in years, but that was always my style.
Essentially, yeah, that was your style.
Yeah.
Well, you have refined it over the years. Yeah.
I guess so.
Does it ever get you in trouble?
The things I say?
Yeah, on stage. I mean, people are laughing hysterically.
Yeah.
But, there's always a sensitive type who, maybe who has 8 kids and approaches you after.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a woman in Fort Myers, Florida. And of all days where I'd flown all day, the flights were delayed, and I had to pretty much rush to the show. It was going to be one of those, like, we're going to pick you up from the airport, and then you're going to write the show, and you're still going to be 30 minutes late. Enough time to get there, change in the bathroom, go right on stage. But I still felt pretty good, and the crowd was all right. And there was a fundraiser show for something. But I asked him, I'm like, what's the deal with this? Is there any rules for this? Because I'm not a clean comic. Just to check. I don't know if I couldn't have changed anything at the last minute. And they're like, no. And the woman's like, fuck them if they can't take a joke. And I got up there. It was all right. And then she just lost her fucking mind.
This woman who
had organized this thing. Yeah. And she gave a little speech after I went up. She's like, he didn't have to be that dirty. Like, on the microphone. And I was losing my shit. And then I got into her we went back and forth in the doorway of this club. Because she's like, you need to think of this as a Leno style. I'm like, you said, fuck them if they can't take a joke.
Yeah,
and
what
I don't
was
care.
going through her head? What?
She was a lunatic. She was drunk, and she had some crazy husband too. And they just kept yelling about being on Leno. Oh, you got to be able to play to a Leno crowd. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck this means. You said fuck them if they can't take a joke. I'm in a nightclub in South Florida. It's not a studio audience.
Did the audience like it?
Yeah, I think it's half and half. I think there were some super old people who were terrified. And then there were groups of young people or middle-aged people who were cool with it. But so, yeah, every so often I get those speeches. And I never go up there to ruffle feather. I just want to make them laugh. And I'm always still 14 years in, really shocked that people fucking are at a comedy club and taken aback by someone's language. Or he said fuck this many times.
Or content.
Or, yeah, anything you say. That
subject matter, yeah.
I'm still baffled by that. That's the part I'll never get over. Because even in the open mic days, I got banned for 2 months. Or suspended. For one of the owners.
From a certain open mic.
Yeah, from my home club. The old owner, he had a lawyer friend. And I guess the lawyer friend was offended by my 5-minute set. And he's like, you're suspended for 3 months. And my buddy, who's the club manager, luckily talked him down to 2 months. And I got back on stage.
Plea bargain.
And they sort of get... But I was always amazed by that, even in open mics.
Yeah, do you remember what you said?
No. It was probably just filth. I was probably half drunk at the time. Those years, I was a heavy drinker, and I think it's that bad. I know the crowd was laughing, so I was shocked when I heard it. And I'm still shocked. Like, all the comics that I watched, whether it be the Eddie Murphys and all this, or the Carlins, just had this idea. I'm like, this will be just an open world. I'll be able to do whatever I want. If it's funny and they laugh, then I'm okay. And then I'm still sort of shocked that people get pissed and you get these speeches. I don't know if I'm just naive or dumb, but I'm just shocked whenever someone pulls you aside, like, I can't believe you said that, or you did an autism joke, our child, and
right.
I'm like, God damn, I don't know what I'm supposed to talk about. I'm still baffled, like, I'll never get over that. that people are sensitive.
Yeah. And do you run across it from owners? You're playing clubs all over the place. Are there any clubs where they go, hey, don't talk about certain subjects? Or is it just, hey, this is a free speech zone, say whatever you want?
Yeah,
Because it is a business for them,
Yeah,
too.
and I understand. Yeah, and I never go up to piss anyone off, but a lot of clubs now, especially in the Southeast and Midwest, a lot of them I've done for years now, so they sort of know what I do. I feel like they understand that and they have my back. But with new clubs, I'm always like, all right, how's this going to pan out? Because and I feel like it doesn't happen a lot, but if a couple times a year I don't match up well with a club, I just always plan like, well, I got to get in 2 new clubs because this is not a good fit for me.
Yeah.
They're too sensitive. Or the ones I hear about on the road that, hey, you need to keep it on the cleaner side there. I don't even bother to get into those clubs anymore. I just go, those clubs don't exist in my mind.
You can't change.
I can't, like, I'm willing to adapt and take the language out and stuff, but if it's so hypersensitive and just it's a cruise ship
Right.
type environment, I'm like, I don't want to step foot in that club.
Yeah.
That club doesn't exist in my mind. And I'm not bitter about it. I don't look at that club like, fuck them. I can't work there. I just go, doesn't exist.
You have no dreams to play Leno.
I would do it. I think I could do a 7-minute set on Leno. I think I could do it. Because I've done sets where I have to rip the language out, the 4-letter words, and that's fine.
And how do you think it compares?
The sets?
I mean, because sometimes I've heard comics do showcases where they have to rip the swearing out. And sometimes I think, well, that works way better.
Yeah.
And other times you can't do it because it just misses the whole point and the persona and everything like that.
It's hard to tell because when I listen to my sets, and I've started recording a lot now, even just the audio, I can't tell. I've heard people say that when I do a clean set, they're like, I prefer when you do it that way. And I'm like, but maybe it's coming from a clean comic who just prefers that style. When I go back and listen to the sets, I know when I'm getting carried away with cursing. And usually when I'm really frustrated, of course, that's when it's insane how much I curse. But overall, if I'm just doing a regular show and I curse here or there, I'm like, I don't hear really a difference. I don't prefer. Yeah. I'm not like, oh, that's better.
I think it works for you because of your pissed off persona on stage, and you just gotta swear.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. And then sometimes if I get frustrated on stage, then it goes overboard a little bit. You're like, fuck, oh, goddamn. And then so I have to watch that. But yeah, it's just me. Like in this hotel room, I curse. If we're hanging out at a bar tonight, I'll curse. And if I go on stage, it's just me.
Right.
Being natural. But I can pull it out. I would never want to do an hour of squeaky clean, but I can always do 7 or 15, whatever this business asks of me. I feel like I can do that. And I feel like it's a cool challenge it's all right. It's interesting.
Are you enjoying life on the road, life as a comic?
Yeah. I do love it. It wears you down, but like I really do like that. Last week I was in Atlanta. Now I'm in Vancouver. I'll be in Minnesota. New York, then Minnesota. I like that lifestyle that my body just goes all over the map. And I just tell jokes.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is a cool thing,
Seeing new people.
Yeah, meeting new people. It is. It really is a great life. You have to get moments now. I'm learning now to take a day or two off. Because in New York, for the first year, I felt like I had to, and I did have to, go out and see new rooms. So I had no off nights. I'd come from the road on a Sunday. I'd go out Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, back to the road on Thursday and repeat it. And so there were no nights off from comedy. And that gets to you. Like you start to burn out. And now that I know a little more about New York, when I fly back, I'll take Saturday or Sunday off, be back out Monday night. Like I need those days to sort of
regroup.
Yeah, I have to now. Otherwise, it's just too much. My anxiety gets out of hand.
And how does that manifest itself?
I'm just tense, and it's just in a bad way, and I just start to obsess and just get these thoughts, and I just don't relax. I'm just in a bad way that in a bad place in my head. So I just have to get away from it. I just need a couple days away from comedy, and maybe not even writing jokes to love it again. And otherwise, I'll just be in my room pacing, losing my shit.
And thinking about the act or just anything in life?
Anything in life.
Okay.
I just take it and grind it down in my head. I'm like, I need to stop. And just take a day and just like eat food and take a nap.
Yeah. Eat food. That's good.
Yeah. Read a book, do something, and just stay in bed. And then I'm okay. It's not a depression thing. It's not like, oh my God, I'm going to kill myself or something. It's just I need a day or two to reset.
You ever think about if you weren't in comedy, what you'd be doing?
Yeah, I think about it now and I have no idea.
None.
I have no idea what I could do.
You said that you joined the Navy or you did something with the Navy?
Yeah, like they have that delayed entry program and where you join and they don't send you away for a year and a half. You finish your high school and all this. And that's what it was, a year and a half. And
then you got out.
Yeah, well, in that time I had a chance to get like a girlfriend. The idea I was over it. And I thought about, I'm like, if I want to try comedy, if I go in the Navy, I probably will never try comedy if I do this. So that kept me out of it. I fell in love with this girl, so they let me sit there too long, and I backed out.
That's good.
Yeah.
Right?
Because it's been 5 years. I've been there for 5 years.
I know you can join the armed forces and, be a musician or something.
Yeah.
Entertainer. But I don't think they have the stand-up comedy in the Navy, do they?
No. And I have, like every comic, a problem with authority that I really didn't realize at 19. I'm like, oh, I could probably listen to direction. And now I realize, I would have been AWOL. And I realized my family...
You'd have ended up in Canada.
Something terrible would have happened.
Wait, excuse me?
Well, no, not that. I would like to move to Canada, but I mean terrible, like they would have choked me or someone would punch me in the face, asked me to leave, dishonorable discharge, or I would have jumped a fence. AWOL. Because I'm Paul Hooper the third, and I would have been third generation the Navy. And the Hoopers in the Navy, first of all, my grandfather, I heard this story, was in whatever war, World War II, or I may be wrong, but he was on a ship, and he was in the brig, in jail the whole time for fighting. And my dad was in the Navy during Vietnam, and never made rank for calling his female officer something terrible. He never made rank. So I would have been the third. Here comes the other Hooper.
We have a file on you.
Yeah. Why even let this guy in?
Wow.
Who has no respect for authority? He's just going to come in and make it harder for everyone.
So you come from a long tradition of
insubordinate pricks.
Yeah. Now, is it true you say on stage your dad left when you were 3?
Yeah.
That is true. Did you have a relationship with him after?
Yeah, we had visitation. I play that up a little more because I think it's funny to use that excuse all day long. People ask me anything. I'm like, my father left when I was 3 years old.
This explains everything.
It's my excuse for everything. Yeah. And I just overuse it. It's just fun to say. He had visitation till I was like 10. Then I didn't want to go anymore, which was an ordeal. I had to go to a child psychologist. Almost had to go to court to sort of prove that, I really didn't want to go. It wasn't.
He was in town.
He was in town at the time. Or he might have lived like 3 or 4 hours away, and I just was over it, and I didn't want to go. And so that was, and I didn't see him from the time, I guess that was 10 or 11. I didn't see him again until I was 19. And then I saw him again somewhere in my early 30s. I'm 36. So I've seen him 5 or 6 times over the last 20 years, 25.
And what's it like when you saw him in your 30s? Like, was it awkward?
It was a little awkward. Actually, no, we had a good conversation, but have never had the deep conversation of like what happened. There were always people around. He would be in town, and I'd meet up with him, and like he's at a friend's house. Would you come over? And we never sat down. We still need to have that sort of reconnect and deep discussion.
So he's still around.
He's in Texas now.
Yeah,
but yeah, we talk on the phone, the holidays, birthdays.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's
good. And it's friendly. Yeah, it's cool. We just need to actually spend some time together.
And has he seen clips? He knows.
I don't know if he's seen clips. He knows I do comedy, and I tell him about it. I'm sure he's checked it out. And he says he's like happy for me and proud.
Does he have a new family?
I have 2 half sisters from his second marriage. Then he got divorced. Then he got married again. He's divorced again. So that's, yeah.
And you've never been married?
I've never been married. I don't know if I'm a commitment phobe because of that.
Well, you're only 36. I didn't get married till I was older than you. And, my parents split up when I was about 2. I'm not
Yeah.
even sure of the age because
Yeah.
who can remember that, right? But it was
Oh, I
around,
remember.
it was around, really,
Yes.
at
I
3,
I tell people that he left while he was potty training me. He said
right
he
in
was
the
going to
middle
get
of
more
it.
toilet paper, and he never came back. And I sat there for 8 hours till my mom got off from work, and I got 3 hemorrhoids.
Yeah.
And the last words I remember him saying was, "Don't smear it." That's what I tell people. You tell strangers that, they're really shell-shocked.
Yeah.
My friends are like, "Get the fuck out of here." They're just using. I love using that as an excuse. It's my behavior.
And you're an only child.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
is good because, I have an only child and I see the way that you've turned out and I think that's great.
I'm a mess, but I advocate this.
What are the, you do advocate it. So what are the good points and the bad points about being an only child?
I'm really self-absorbed, which I enjoy, but I like the idea of, there were only like 6 months as a child where I was like, I want a brother or sister. And then I was done with the idea because you go to these family functions to go see the extended family for the holidays once a year. And the way I describe it is when they catch up with you, they're like, "How are you, Paul?" There's no Stephanie or Jim behind you to steal your spotlight. They don't have to go, "How are you, Paul?" "Hey, Jimmy." "Hey, Stephanie." It's just all Paul. "How you, Paul?" "I'm doing great." Everybody, "Hey, Paul." I don't know what that does to my head, but I love that.
You love being in the spotlight.
I didn't have another human taking my attention away.
Right. But then you didn't have a playmate. So what were you doing at home?
Actually, it worked out perfectly because we live in this neighborhood. So when my parents split up, we still lived in a neighborhood with my grandmother and my aunt and uncle. My aunt and uncle, like, I have 2 cousins that were a little bit older than me, boys, and so my mom had to go back to work after the divorce. My grandmother, my aunt, looked after me, so I just hang out with my cousins.
Okay, so there were kids.
And yeah, and I was in this neighborhood, which is really weird now that I look back. It was right outside of Charlotte. It was out in the woods, basically, but it was a big neighborhood, and there were like 20 kids, boys, around my age, within 5 years of my age, and we all played football. Everyone had a boy in this neighborhood. I don't remember a lot of girls being around. And so we played football. I got in fights, so I didn't live this pampered life. I got my ass beat, like, and thrown down and slapped around. So I wasn't really pampered. Maybe at home I was a little spoiled, but when I went out on the streets, then I got roughed up too, like a typical kid, and it was a normal life.
Great relationship with your mom?
Yeah. She's awesome.
And still?
Yeah. We're tight. We're really close friends.
Now, has she seen your act?
She has.
And?
She's cool with it. I don't think she fully understands everything, and she doesn't want to know exactly what I'm saying sometimes, but she's just happy. If they clap and laugh, she's cool with it.
Right.
She saw it early on, at like a little bit in open micing. I think I had started hosting at my home club, and she came out. And I had a good set that first time, and she was happy. And since then, she's happy. I say crazy shit.
Yeah, you say that you are going to terminate the Paul Hooper name.
Yeah.
The Hooper name.
Right.
It's a great name, by the way.
I like the sound of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no kids for you. But is that just part of your act, or is that like you have decided no?
Well, I don't know if I did the joke the other night. Well, yeah, the one about my ex asking me what it would take to have a baby, to marry her and have a baby.
$5 million.
$5 million. And that's what I stand by. That I will.
This happened. No.
Yeah. Oh, this really happened.
Really?
I remember the bedroom and where she was standing in the bedroom when she asked me, and where I was standing. It was in the afternoon. Yeah. It was a sunny day. I remember all this shit. Yeah. And she goes, "What? Seriously?" I don't know if she phrased it like that, but that was the gist of it. And I'm like $5 million after taxes and everything. I'm gonna have to have $5 million. I need a cushion. I go, babies cost $500,000. You want to live? I'm sure you don't want to live in squalor. And we need to have some backup. It sounded rational to me. And she hit the roof.
Right then.
That was really the beginning of the end. We stayed together for 6 more months, but that was it. Like, she knew that this guy is never going to marry me. And she moved on and married a Navy SEAL.
And has 6 kids.
I don't know if they have kids yet, but I'm sure they will.
Right. Oh, yeah, you mentioned, she married a Navy SEAL, and you like the guy.
Yeah, I never met him, but I'm fascinated by the Navy SEAL lifestyle.
Yeah.
So I think that's sort of cool.
Huh.
She went from a comic to a Navy SEAL, which is That's all over the place.
So you stand by your $5 million.
$5 million, I would have a kid. One child.
Now, wait, your mother didn't have $5 million.
She did.
Or the equivalent.
She had a tough time with it. I would,
You just said you had a great childhood.
I had a great childhood, but she had to go back to work and bust her ass and stuff. She had it really tough raising me.
Yeah. But you're working?
I'm working. But she also, it didn't stop at 18. Like, I was an animal, a drunken idiot until I was 30. So she had to bail me out of situations all the way until I was 30 when I actually got myself together and, I had to worry about, I had DUIs in the past and all this stuff. So I didn't really grow up or get my shit together until I was 30. So I feel bad now. Like, I'm like, she had 30 years of this mess. Mm-hmm. And I still apologize to her.
So, like you say, you were a raging drunk from 18 to 30. What started that?
It really
just being 18.
Yeah, I started my first drink was like at 19, and then I really got out of hand. Started comedy at 22.
First drink at 19?
Yeah, 19. Okay. I went on some beach trip with my buddies, and that was it. Decided to partake, and then really, when I could buy it legally at 21, and then when I started comedy, and then it was free drinks at the club, that's when it got out of hand. But it was all fun-loving for 8 or 9 years until I got, really the last year was the bad year.
Oh, so early on, like you were a manageable drunk.
Right, yeah.
So you were on stage drunk, or this was after, during the day?
Not really during the day, just binge drinking at night. Before the show, on stage, and then just all night. And I would just repeat that and just do that. It was just all this, get caught up in the party of it. I had free drinks. And the comedy club I started at, there was a teddy bar in the same complex. So, I mean, it was perfect when I was 22.
Right.
And they gave us all this, like, club courtesy that was between us. And we go down there and the strippers. It was amazing. It was this poor man's rock star thing that you get caught up into as a dumb 22-year-old. Like, this is the life. And then, I just rode that out for, years until I, had enough. Well, I almost killed myself, but, yeah, 22. That's when I was sort of introduced, like, the beer and the shot. Before that, I'd either have, like, a mixed drink or a beer, and then people just started handing me shots of Jägermeister with my beer, or Cuervo or tequila, and I would just do beer shot, and that's when everything just came off the rails.
And this was all over the States, right? On the road?
Yeah. Everywhere, all over the Southeast and Midwest. That's where I started working, and then, did that for 8 years.
And what was your mom doing? Like, this wasn't a daily thing where she had to come and help you.
No, but occasionally she'd call me. I think it was one time she called me, and I don't remember talking to her. Like, I wouldn't give her my schedule, and then I guess after a week, she'd be like, "Where's my son at?" And she'd call. And one time she called me, and I was in the Florida Keys. And I talked to her, and it was after the show, and I was blasted drunk. I don't remember anything. And then, like, a day later, she's like, "Do you remember what you said or anything last night?" And I'm like, "I don't know what's going on." She's like, "You sounded really depressed. I was worried about you. You sort of hung up the phone. You were bitching about comedy." And I'm like, "Really?" I'm like, I wasn't in a bad mood. I was in the Florida Keys. The show wasn't that great that night, but she's like, "You really had me worried." And I'm like, fuck, I don't remember doing this. So she'd call and check up on me and stuff like that, make sure I was alive on the road. And occasionally I would pick it up drunk, and, she would pick up on those things. And when I was back home, I always looked like shit. I still look like shit. But I really looked rough in those days. So when I would go visit with her, she could tell I'd been out all night, It was obvious. Right. I had a rough ride.
And she had those heart-to-hearts with you, like, "Paul, you got to really think about this. You got to stop."
A little bit, but she would never just get on my ass for an hour. She would, or preach at me. She would just you got to cut it out at some point, which I respected. But she never, she wasn't chastising me.
And so you say it really hit rock bottom in the last year. Throughout the 8 years, did you ever think, "Yeah, I can't do this"? But and then the next day you just would anyway?
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of times where I was worn down, I'm like, I probably shouldn't drink at night. But I know I will, And I gotten crazy. Like, the last year, I don't know if this is typical, like, alcoholic behavior, but I really didn't trust. It had gotten into where I was blacking out a lot, and I didn't trust myself. So I've gotten a hotel, and they put me on, like, a 6th floor with a balcony, with a sliding door. When I got in that day and checked in sober, started putting the furniture. I'd pull the curtain shut and put the furniture against the door so that when I got drunk that night...
Against the balcony door.
Yeah. When I got drunk that night and came home, I wouldn't go out there. Because I didn't know if I'd come home, I'm depressed, that I would jump, or that I'd think it was funny and fall off, like get on the rail and do something stupid. I didn't trust myself what was going to happen 12 hours ago. But I also knew I was going to drink no matter what. I was like... Normally you go, well, if you have those thoughts, don't drink tonight, asshole. Right. But I knew. I was like, no, I have to drink tonight, so let's just protect the room and safeguard it from myself.
So you have to drink to excess. You couldn't just have a few drinks.
Yeah. I didn't understand that. And it still sort of weirds me out when I see people drink 3 drinks, and they're like, I'm taking off. I'm like, I don't understand why you even started drinking. I don't...
I had 1 beer last night.
It baffles me. I see my buddies do it. They have 3 beers and leave the bar and go home and won't drink at home. I have no concept of that. I was so bad that when I would have a beer at the bar and it would get down to like just where there's a little bit left in the bottom, if the bartender was on the other side of the room and someone was talking to me, a friend, I couldn't listen to their conversation until I gave me a new beer because I was like anticipating this is going to be empty and I can't sit here with an empty beer for 5 minutes listening to this story. I'm like, she has to come back, and my anxiety would take over, and I couldn't listen to anyone around until I had a new beer. Then I'm back to normal. But I don't know how people just go, oh, we'll get the waitress over here in a minute. I would get angry. I'm like, it has to be nonstop alcohol coming in.
Sort of obsessive behavior, is that it?
Yeah.
And is this in other aspects of your life?
Yeah, it's still here, the OCD. I didn't realize that, of course, in the
drinking. Or is it compulsive? I don't know the difference.
I don't know, a little bit of both. I tend to just take things and just beat them in the ground. If I get something stuck in my head, and I know we're comics and we do that, and, neurotic people probably, but I really didn't realize until I quit drinking how bad it was. And each year I'm picking up new weird little traits, new things. And so I do have to get a hold of it and a handle on it at some point. Because I'm becoming more eccentric, but I don't have the success to justify. It's getting to the point where now I need a best-selling novel to be this weird.
Okay, so how are you weird?
Well, the thing I talk about on stage is like the quarters. I can't spend quarters anymore because they put states in the back of the quarters. If a state I haven't been to, I can't spend it.
So this is true.
Yeah, it's true. All that's true. And if I see paper on the ground, I have to pick it up and check it, make sure it's not my passport, Social Security card. Any piece of paper on the street.
It doesn't even look like a passport.
It doesn't look like a passport, but I'm like, oh, God, I don't know. That could have been like my bank information could be on that. It could have flown out of my wallet when I rounded the corner, or something could have been in my pocket. I mean, I don't pick up everything on the street.
Right. And you know it's irrational.
I know it's irrational. I know it's crazy. I know it's insane, but I still have to do it.
Is it partly superstitious?
No, I don't feel like it's superstitious.
Oh.
No, I have to just pick it up to make sure. And checking doors and stuff like that, I guess that's pretty standard.
And making sure the oven's off?
Oven's off, cigarettes out.
Driving back home to make sure that it's off?
Yeah, I do that. Irons drive me nuts. Like I have an iron last night, makes me crazy. I step on the cord like the plug. I'll step on it and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I'll leave and come back and go pick it up. I go, it is unplugged. It is out of the wall. I'll hold it up. When I check out of this hotel tomorrow, you should see it. That's the worst. Because I'll have this place dismantled. I'll be under the bed with the mag light on my phone. I'll go in every drawer. A lot of times I'll have my luggage packed by the door, and it'll take another 45 minutes. And I break a sweat. I literally break a sweat looking under the bed and checking things. And I stand over the desk and go, 1, 2, 3, clear. 1, this is clear. 1, out loud. You could hear me through this door tomorrow morning. 1, 2, 3, clear. Nothing there. That is not mine. And sometimes I'll go, that's lamp, phone. That is not mine. I'm telling you, this is fucking crazy. But
so as you're doing it, are you thinking, this is crazy?
Yeah. Like 30 minutes in, I'm always like, you're a fucking idiot. I'll say it out loud to myself, and then I battle with that. Then I'm like, okay, never mind. Okay, 1, 2, 3, clear. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I don't mean to be laughing at this.
No, it's okay. I know it's mental.
And you have to do this almost every week because you're in hotels all the time.
Yeah, so it's really tough. I mean, I can pull the trigger. If I'm late for a flight and someone's waiting downstairs and I have 20 minutes to get out of my room, I can get out of my room. But if you leave me, like an extra hour, I'll just unravel until the last moment, until the final second. But I know I can still, so I'm functioning. It's not where I'm missing flights because of it.
But you stopped your obsessive or compulsive, I'm not sure, drinking.
Yeah.
And was that easy? Did you go through a process? What was it?
No, the couple of things, I got arrested twice. I got the DUI, misuse of 911, a prank called 911 from my cell phone, 2 days in jail for that. And that was the perfect wake-up call, really.
So that was it. And tell us that story.
I don't really understand the story. I have a lot of details of what happened. And
people told you after the fact?
Yeah, and I never heard the tape. I think they've erased the tape. My buddy tried to get it, and I'm glad, because I'm scared to hear it. But I went out with some
Where
buddies.
was it?
Charlotte, my hometown. That's where it all went down. Always on off nights. I did stupid shit everywhere, but I only got caught in Charlotte.
That's why you hate Charlotte.
It's a problem. I don't know. It's a great police department. They're amazing work. But I was out on an off night, like a Wednesday. I was off the road. Another comic friend was staying with me. We decided to go out. We go to the comedy club, see a show. We have a few drinks. Go to this little open mic place afterwards. Get drunk there, and then just go to a regular bar downtown, like a meat market bar, full of douchebags. And I just get hammered. And I start taking people's shots, people we aren't with. They would order drinks, and I would take their shot. I get kicked out. So I'm told. And so my buddies, they stay in party, and they send someone out to check on me.
Kicked out because you're being obnoxious, because you're fighting? What is it?
Obnoxious. Well, I'm taking people's drinks. Like, people that aren't with us are, ordering drinks at the bar next to us, and I just see the bartender put shots. And I'm like, I want those. And I just take their shots and do them. So I was pissing off all the customers. There's a bunch of big dudes that wanted to whip my ass, and so I get kicked out, and I'm on the sidewalk, but they stay inside. And they send someone. They say they send a guy out to check on me one time. It's no problem. I'm on my cell phone. They're just make sure he doesn't walk in traffic. He goes back in. The next time they come out to check on me, there's a line of police cars out front, and they're pissed. And they just call 911, and my buddy tried to talk him out of it, but I was belligerent to the cops, evidently, or something like that, is what they said. I don't have any recollection of it, but it was a stupid joke, I'm sure, that just went awry. I don't know what my intentions were, other than I think it was probably a prank, or I called the wrong person. In my head, I thought maybe I dialed the number and someone else had got on the phone and said something crazy. Because I don't remember a second of it.
So 911, what did you say the emergency was?
I have no idea.
Oh, still?
No, I have no idea. I don't know what I said. And there's no record of it, so I don't know. And on the ticket, there's no explanation. I mean, my buddies have their versions, and I always, hesitate. And I some of the things I've heard, I believe, and other times I'm I don't know. So I don't even want to guess what I said.
So you were in a holding cell or jail for 2 days?
2 days. Well, the first day, my buddies left me in jail to sort of tough love. You need to get over it. They're not going to bail me out. And I was so drunk the next day, I couldn't read the ticket. But it was so low, it was a misdemeanor, the bail bondsman wouldn't come get me. It wasn't worth his time. And I didn't know what I had in my account. I couldn't figure out the math on all this. And I was just so hazy in my head and confused. So I stayed in the next day, and a couple guys in jail, see the judge on Friday, plead your case. And that's what I did. So I went in Wednesday night, Friday I saw the judge, pled guilty. That's when he's like, don't ever call 911 again, which led to the joke that I do. Where
you won't call it even for a legitimate emergency.
And that's true, too. I haven't. I know he probably didn't mean for me to do that, but he's put that fear in me. I've seen a car wreck in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a woman mugged in New York City both times. Because I had my phone out playing with it when it all went down, and they're like, call 911. I'm like, I can't help you. I can't do it. I can't do it because in my head I still have that. I know, but I'm saving it for family or friends. I'm not doing it for strangers. If my family or friends, I will call 911. But if you're a stranger on the street, fuck that. I can't help you. I can't.
So you're in a fog in the holding cell, and at what point did you realize I can't do this anymore?
Like the second day after I pled guilty if I went on a Wednesday, the Friday afternoon, because the whole time I was like, I'm getting out of jail. I'm getting a case of beer, and
forget this whole mess.
Yeah, and just blow off some steam. And then I got out of jail, or that last 12 hours. I'm like, I've had enough. And I looked around at the guys that were in jail, and they were all idiots and career criminals. I'm like, I'm going to be in here. I'd already been arrested earlier that year for DUI. Now, 4 months later, I'm in for this stupid call that I don't remember making, this stupid prank or whatever I was trying to do. I'm like, that's twice in 6 months I've been in jail. And that's what these guys, their whole life is that.
What guys?
The guys in jail that you're sitting there with. They're just turds. They just, they pass out in the street. They get arrested for trespassing. They punch their wife. They steal some shit. And I'm just like, these are just the worst people. And I'm
now
like,
you're thinking, I'm one of these guys.
I didn't want to be a part of that element of just like, I can't stop drinking this liquid. So I'm just going to be thrown in a cage every few months because I can't control myself. I'm like, that's pathetic. And so that got in my head. I'm like, I'm done with this shit because I don't want to come back to this cage, and I don't want to just drink myself to death. I think that's sad. And I thought I started thinking about the old idea of like people that live their whole lives drinking like that, and then they like people tell the stories are like he just really had to have that liquid. That's all you're known for, is your whole life's controlled by a liquid. I'm like, that's sad that someone, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. That was a phase of my life. I'm glad I did it. I'm not glad I did the last few things, but I lived through that, but it didn't control my whole life. I can't imagine that. I know people, that go their whole lives, or old men that it's all just drinking. He just drank every day. I don't know. I don't feel like that's the way I want to live.
Well, so you're a sensible guy. Beneath all that, you could see that I don't want to be this. And then was it just one day? Like, was it cold turkey? No, not gonna have a drink today.
When I got out of jail from that, I never drank again.
Cheers.
That's it. I never had a drop since the day. So it was May 11th, 06, without using, I don't count the days, but that's the date. I think that's the day I went in jail. Or the night, I went in the night, and then the next day I count. It's my first day sober. And so May 11th, 2006, when I got out, I never drank a drop again. And that's it. And that's the way I did. I just had the proper amount of fear, I think. Like, I scared myself to death. Like, I realized I wasn't going to be able to do comedy. No one was going to book me because I was a liability. And I was going to kill myself or end up in prison. And that finally registered in my head. I'm like, that's enough. I don't love it that much. And then I went on the road. I also had a buddy, too. One of the club owner of my original club, the Comedy Zone, who was very cool and offered to put me in rehab if I needed it. So I had that back up in my head. And I never took him up on it because I went on the road. But I had friends sort of rally around me. And I went on the road, and they didn't take my work away. People knew how it was a bad time. So I went down to one other club in Jacksonville, Florida, that I used to be a really hard party town for me. And I'm like, this will be a good test. Did the show sober. The shows were fine. And went back to my hotel room. That's what I feared. Going to a hotel room by yourself in a strange town. Like, what am I going to do?
Sober.
Yeah, for 5 hours in my hotel room. And I just went back, called friends, read a book, watched TV, ate food like a normal human being. And the next day I felt great. And I had more money that week. I had my old paycheck at the end of the week.
Yeah, amazing that part. Eh?
So the incentive to stay sober was better. After a couple of weeks, I'm like, I have so much more money. And I feel better, and I think my show's better. And I could write jokes the next day because I got up before 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And everything improved. And I started to sort of respect the craft of comedy and just get my head together. And from then, I just stuck by it. And I don't really feel like I've been tempted. I mean, maybe someday I am tempted. Who knows? Enough things fall apart in your life. A family member gets sick. This happens. A few gigs fall out. Who knows? You might be tempted. But so far, I haven't been tempted. And I'm determined. Like, I have no desire to go back to drinking. I'm not one of those dudes that goes in a bar and I'm like, I can feel myself.
Well,
No, I
that's
don't.
good because you're playing clubs, which are essentially bars.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have no problem with it. And I cheer if my buddies drink. I mean, if people get out of hand, I remove myself from the situation. But people just having a few drinks, I cheer them on. Go for it.
If they get crazy, do you ever have to counsel one of your friends? Go, hey, I think you're taking this too far.
I try not.
Trust me, I've been there.
Try not to be the preachy guy. But I've had buddies recently, a couple buddies that sobered up because of health problems. And I feel like I have to intervene, and I never know the right spot to intervene. I don't want to see them die or end up in jail, but I never know. I also don't want to just jump on them and ruin our friendship with me being the preachy guy and them feel weird being around me. If I jump the gun prematurely and go, I think you have a drinking problem, like,
Right.
they're like, get the fuck out of here. I don't want to have that. So I've always hesitated. I mean, if I think it's serious, I'll say something, but I don't want to be that dude. You know, I didn't want to have it done to me, and I don't want to do it to other people. They got to realize.
Don't you wish, though, maybe somebody did it to you before?
People tried. People told me for months, but it is that alcoholic thing. You're not going to listen to anyone.
Well, but maybe it was just that, one after another that just sort of weighed on your mind and it finally hit. I mean, it took that event, but you also had those thoughts put into your head by people along the way.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It was those things, and I really took that event to rattle me to my core. That's the only way, if I could feel it. I mean, I admitted I had a drinking problem for the last year or two. I'd laugh about it. And I was serious. I go, I know I'm an alcoholic. And people sort of laugh, and like, he's honest. I'm like, I have no plans to stop. I'm an alcoholic. Last year or two. So I knew something was coming. But I was having fun riding it out. And when that hit, it just sort of registered and rattled me. And I'm like, that's enough. But
So no rehab, no AA or anything? Wow.
No. Buddies have invited me to go to AA with them, and I'm open to it. We just never got around to it.
You say your show's improved. Substantially different?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've always been sort of the same style of comic, but yeah, I write a lot more. I mean, I think I was really lazy in the first 8 years. I would write to get out of open mic to MC, write out of that really fast to get to feature, then get lazy again and plateau, and then write again to get headline time. And then if it didn't just pop into my head like a miracle or just wasn't just handed to me, it was just a lucky situation. I riffed it on stage and it worked, or it came to me really quickly. But I would never even sit down for 5 or 10 minutes and work on an idea. I had no patience for it. It was just like, I need to get on stage, and once I got it locked in. So I was really lazy. And so when I sobered up, I'm like, no, I need to get serious about this.
So you're like a disciplined writer now, where you sit down even without an idea and just force one to come out?
No, I'm not like that. I'm still not like that. But I will like take my notebook and just basically glance at it before I go out to get coffee, and I'll have the idea in my head and I daydream it. And I always get a line or two by the time I get back from getting coffee, or I'm driving anywhere, or whatever I'm doing that day. I just sort of glance at my notebook throughout the day and just sort of daydream it, kicking around in my head. If that one doesn't work, I go to a next idea. Before the shows, I always look. And I always get lines throughout the day. And sometimes I get these little spurts of, 20, 30 minutes of just writing on one bit, then writing on another bit. And I have it. But I don't force myself to do 2 hours. I don't do that. But yeah, I always glance at it, and I always keep it in my head. And I have my favorite ideas are the ones I'm like, I need to work on that. And I just glance at my notebook, remind myself, what was the last thing I wrote? Okay, I'll just walk down the street and think about it.
Thinking your mother must be so thrilled that you came through this.
Yeah, she's really relieved that I pulled it together. Yeah, I scared her pretty good. So she'll say it once in a while. I didn't realize how much she knew. I mean, she had the conversation, like, when I was in Key West, we had that conversation, but I think there at the end, like, she knew or was making phone calls to my friends, like, how bad is he? And I never knew a lot of that. Or how obvious it was that my life was falling apart. But yeah, so she's really happy that.
So you were, you blacked out a lot and don't remember a lot, but there must have been times where you were told that you did things that was kind of funny.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That was the problem. Like, people would they're at the end of my drinking, like, I would go to clubs and it would be a comic I hadn't met that I was on the show with, and they would talk about, I heard you were in Texas and you did this. And it'd be a 5-minute drinking story. And then they go, I heard you were sort of funny, too, like on stage. Like, my show was an afterthought. It was all about I'd pissed on someone's shoes or a car, all the predictable stuff. Fallen down, done something crazy. And they're actually crazier than that. That sounds like stupid drunk stuff. But I do have some really good stories.
Go ahead.
The one I'm proud of, because I did the predictable stuff. You fall down staircases, you get in bar fights.
So you're just waking up with bruises.
Waking up with all that standard alcoholic bullshit, you know. But then I had a few original ones where I was really proud of myself about thinking on my feet as an a resourceful alcoholic.
That you were told after the fact, or you remembered?
I remember a few of them.
Yeah.
My little buddy, one of my best friends in the world, Randy, was 5'4". I'm 5'6". We're the smallest guys in the bar most of the time, and he was a maniac, still is. And we drink. The problem is, I could black out and walk and talk. When he blacked out, when he was done at the night, he would just go to sleep at the bar. He'd just put his head down. He'd just pass out, which I sort of wish I had done at times, but that was our conflict because we were best friends and drinking buddies. He'd always pass out at midnight, and I'm left by myself with no one to drink with. So it was constant conflict. With every night we'd get into almost a fist fight. We were in Omaha, Nebraska, in a comedy condo, and the house MC was there. And he was like a pothead. He wasn't really a big drinker. Randy passed out on the couch. I tried to wake him up the whole time. I'm like, get up, come in, give me another hour of drinking. Just 1 hour. Sean, the other guy's there, is like, leave him alone. He's trying to sleep. I'm like, I can't have it. He's got to wake up. This is boring. And Randy would wake up enough to tell me to fuck off. He's like, kid, leave me the fuck alone. I'm trying to sleep. At some point, this goes on till he gets irritated and he had to go piss. So I follow him to the bathroom, but I can notice his eyes are like slits. Like he's really half asleep, drunk, just stumbling to the bathroom. Like, get away from him. I follow him in the bathroom. I'm still screaming at him. Like, come on, man. 1 more hour of drinking. Then Sean, the other comic's behind me, like, leave him alone. Let him piss and go to bed. So he starts pissing really hard because he'd been drinking all night, a big beer piss. And his head's sort of back, and he's almost asleep pissing, telling me, like, leave me alone, Hooper. Leave me alone. And I'm like, this guy's not listening. So this is where I'm proud. I just cupped my hands under his urine stream and threw it in his own face. And it was the perfect wave of piss. And he woke up, and he's like, what was that? I go, that's your own piss. That's what you get. You don't understand? You're not... And that was an instant fist fight.
Yeah.
And then he had to take a shit. But I got what I wanted. I got the entertainment. I got a fist fight. He had to take a shower. And the whole time he's in the shower, he cursed my name, which I thought was hilarious. So I got another hour of entertainment out of him. It was well worth it, sacrificing my hands to hit him with that. But I think I was really proud of thinking on your feet. No one would be willing to do that usually.
No, I would think not.
But I was already toxic, so I was like, I will cut my hands and throw it in his face. I did that. There were little moments like that.
Still friends with him?
Yeah, we're best friends.
Okay.
Yeah, and he told me I had to sort of cut back on the drinking recently. But... yeah, we were, yeah.
It's funny, you said you had to get out of the Navy because you might have been punched in the face. Well, you've been punched in the face several times since.
Yeah, but Randy's 5'4". It didn't really do much damage to me. If someone's 6'5", if you punched me, it'd be a problem.
Not me.
But I've had my ass whipped, and I've only gotten, it's amazing, through all those drinking days, I got in one actual fist fight. Here's what, guys used to choke me a lot. And I don't know what that is. Randy and I have gone back and like, why didn't we get our asses like handed to us more, or our asses beat? Because the shit we said and did in bars, I mean, somebody should have just killed us. And I don't know if it's because we're little dudes. We try to figure that out. If it's because we're little and big guys think they'll kill us if they hit us, and we can't trade it. But people would always choke me. All over the country, people that didn't know each other, like guys would get mad at me and they just choke me. They just strangle me, and then someone would separate us. I thought it's hilarious. Sometimes I would lose, like I wouldn't be able to breathe. Most times people just try to make a point, and they just shake you. I think it's funny that someone's choking me. I mean,
hilarious.
I think the idea of it, because I always see it from someone across the bar looking.
Even in the moment.
In the moment, I'm like, I'd love to see someone choked like this from across the bar.
So, and then you get the giggles as they're choking you, and they go, what the hell are you laughing at?
I really would laugh. Unless they were really, I felt like, oh, I'm going to be killed here.
Right.
There were a couple times where I'm like, I think this guy's trying to kill me. But then they would get separated. But a couple times they were just trying to make a point. Like, don't do that again. And they would just, They didn't know what to do. But they never punched me, and I never understand that. And Randy got the same treatment, I think. And
because you're adorable.
Thank you. They just want to shake me a little bit. I don't know. I'm glad. I'd prefer that over a punch, but it's sort of amazing.
You look back fondly at those beatings. You're thrilled that you're past that. You went through it. You came out alive at the other end. Parts of it you still miss, part of that lifestyle?
Not really, because it was a lot of noise and racket, and I don't miss that now. I like the quiet now. Yeah. I enjoy it sort of boring in my off time to be just calm. Like today, I'll take a nap. I'll try to write a little bit. I'll watch TV. I like that. It doesn't have to be action-packed now. The show's enough action for me.
Last night I saw you at the Comedy Mix, part of the Vancouver Comedy Fest, and you were on a bill with Mark Maron. You met him for the first time.
Yeah, it was a great show.
Yeah. And 2 nights before that, you were the headliner.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was first time in Vancouver, right?
Yeah, first time. I love it here. I really do.
Have you played elsewhere in Canada?
No, this is my first trip. Because it's taken a while to get the paperwork approved.
Because of the arrests?
Yes, because of my criminal background.
Yeah, it's funny. You said on Tuesday when I saw you, Tim Allen can come in.
Yeah, Tim Allen trafficked coke in the 70s. He's free to roam. But that's what happens when you can write a big check, I guess.
Sure.
You can write a $50,000 check. Or I don't know if the Santa Claus movies fool everyone into thinking, oh, he's reformed. And a guy like me is just, they don't know. But I would think coke trafficking charge would be pretty serious. I would think that would haunt you for the rest of your life, rightfully so. Where a DUI shouldn't, but...
Yeah, but fame trumps all, I guess.
Fame and money trumps all. And there's money to be made off of him, so, it's easier, I guess, an easier decision. But, it still pisses me off.
It is odd that a DUI would keep you out of the country.
Well, it doesn't keep you out. You just need a couple grand, a couple $1,000, and get every piece of paper from the history of your life, get that together, get your taxes and FBI rap sheets. I have a folder somewhere with all that stuff I handed over, and it's amazing. And so I jumped through the hoops, do whatever I could, and, I'll do it the legal way, because I really wanted to come up here. My buddies have always bragged about Canada doing comedy up here. And they were always cool at the festival. I was supposed to come in 2010, and then found out about the situation that I couldn't get in. It's taken the last year and a half to work on it. So they were really cool. So I was determined. I put my OCD on the case. I'm I'm going to Canada. Mm-hmm. I'll get them every piece of paper they need to prove that I'm a safe, upstanding citizen.
That you won't come here and run over our citizens.
Yeah, or whatever. Throw rocks at the buildings or whatever is supposed to. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. Now, you would think they would just go, okay, we're not going to rent you a car or let you drive your car. But now, if you're planning on, it's not about that someone would fly in, steal a car, well, get drunk somewhere in there, then run over the people. That seems like a long shot to me.
It does. Now, you think that you'll be coming back regularly?
I hope so.
Yeah, working the clubs across Canada?
Yeah, I'd love to work a lot of the clubs. And, I just haven't been able to pursue it. I've had... my buddies have referred me into a few. It's just now that I'm finally approved, I can work on it. So, yeah, hopefully. Because I'd really like to get up here. Vancouver, I'd love to work that again. And then Toronto, Ottawa. Any of this. I'll go anywhere.
What is it that you heard that made you want to come here? There's enough clubs in the States to keep you busy.
Yeah, but I heard they're better, the comedy crowds. And they seem more attentive, or they just respect the art of comedy a little more. That's what I think. The last 3 nights...
Based on your 3 nights here?
Yeah, I didn't feel like there were any situations. It was really good. I know there's a drunken heckler. That's going to happen anywhere in the world. But I just feel like they're really, really good comedy crowds. I've only been here 3 nights in one town, in one club. But yeah.
It's a pretty good club.
Yeah, it's a great club.
And you're going to be at another one tonight.
Yeah, at Laugh Line. Yeah. So far, I'm really, really impressed. And I like that. That they're smart. That's all I ask. You just want open-minded, intelligent people that sit there and respect the show and just will listen and go with you wherever you want to go. Mm-hmm. Whatever twist and turn you take, they're gonna pay attention and go with it. And that's all. And it seems to be that way thus far. So,
well,
I'm cool with it.
Hope you come back. Yeah. What's your? You did something with Michael Moore.
I did a festival in 2010 with Michael Moore. Whitney Cummings took me with her. I went and opened for her at his festival. Michael Moore and Jeff Garland have a festival. It was the first year they did it, a comedy festival in Traverse City, Michigan.
And would he perform?
Michael Moore would. Jeff Garland would.
Yeah.
And Michael Moore, they had John Waters do a one-man show, which is great. Roseanne Barr was there. Then Mike Birbiglia, who else? JB Smoove was there. They had shows everywhere. It was sold out. And all the show. It was a great festival. And they do it, I think they skipped it this year because there was a beer festival at the same time or something. But they do it once a year in Traverse City, Michigan. It was a great experience because he's poured a lot of money into the State Theater there and like renovated it, from what I've been told. And it's beautiful. It was packed the first night. And then it's really cool because he's just all about stimulating the Michigan economy and putting money back into it. So it's a great thing. I think he does the film festival there at a different time of year. He was doing a comedy festival and was talking about a book thing, a book festival or something. So I don't know. It's a great thing. He was very nice. They were always very cool. I was just there for 2 or 3 days, but
He seems in the American culture the way it is now such a divisive figure.
Yeah.
Because everything is left and right. Like there's no middle ground. But in Michigan, is he just beloved by everyone?
I think so. I mean, well, not everyone, but I think there are a lot of people that love what he's done in that town and what he's doing to try to help that town or Michigan. They can't argue with that it is a good thing. He's bringing all this business and all these people in from all over the world, and it's boosting the economy, so you can't argue with that. It's a good thing that he's doing. And so I didn't see the people. I'm sure there are people that have a problem, but no, I respect what he's done in his work, and he was super nice to me. I met him for like 5 or 10 minutes, and
So you headline all over the place, but you say you went out with Whitney and opened for her. You do that with other comics?
I've done it here and there. There's not like a regular gig where I go out with someone. I did a couple things with her. She brought me along for a couple things, and then I just done a few things. Like last week, I was in Atlanta with Jim Norton. And there's a couple guys like that where I've worked with a few times where I'll just try. Well, I'm trying to go to Atlanta and book that. When is Norton going to be there? And hopefully it works out. I need to jump on a week with him because his crowds are amazing. But it's not like a regular thing. But yeah, there's some people I work with a few times, right? If I see they're at a club that I work, I try to get on it.
And you try because you respect them so much, or is it also wanting to boost your profile a bit?
It helps, like Norton or jumping on like a Dave Attell week, that there's just great comics and their crowds are perfect. Like those crowds know what they're in for. They're great comedy crowds because they're not fucking going to be sensitive. They're not going to just groan at everything. They don't care if you curse. They don't care what the subject matter is. You can hit them as hard as you want and just go. And that's refreshing. So I think comedy clubs, sometimes crowds just are too sensitive. Way too sensitive. And when you're with one of those guys, they can take it. Like they've shown up to see that dude, then okay, they're not going to fucking be filling out comment cards and grabbing the general manager. I can't believe he said that. It's going to be a good week. And yeah, it's some of my favorite weeks because it's why I got into comedy. I never got into comedy to piss anyone off. I'm just like, and I never did it to get a groan. I thought there was supposed to be a laugh. So when you work with those dudes, you're like, oh, it is a laugh. It just has to be the right people.
Yeah.
Who aren't hypersensitive about stupid shit.
It always amazes me, too, how people can get offended over words and comedy. I can understand not liking it, but to be offended... Now, it might just be that I grew up watching comedy. I'm not a comedian, and that you're in the comedy world. But the people who maybe only go once or twice a year, and they're not used to that kind of language, right?
Right.
I mean, I have friends that get offended over certain things, and I was like, really? I mean, I think you could say anything to me, and I would think you're an asshole, maybe.
Right.
But I wouldn't be offended. Like, you can't say that.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to put in my head of, like, what would offend me? If there was someone on stage, is there anything a guy on stage could say? I mean, I'm so far removed because we're, like, comics now. I'm so deep in this that I've lost all perspective, maybe.
And did you come up with anything that might offend you?
No, I thought about it.
It would offend your sensibilities as a comic, maybe.
If someone's terrible or hacky or some shit. Yeah, that is. Yeah. But if someone's saying something, like I thought about it, I'm going, where people will get these things about you mention a disease, autism.
Yeah.
The sheer mention of it. Even though I have that joke on my set, and it's not about a kid with autism, it's about a kid that tests negative. But people have written me things and cornered me about it. So I try to think, who in my life has died of something like, not autism. No one dies of autism, do they? But like what disease that people are sensitive about, or what. And my grandmother, who I love dearly, had Alzheimer's. And it was a 10 or 11-year ordeal where she stayed at our house sometimes. I had to help take her to the bathroom, whole thing. I saw her deteriorate until she was in a home. And I loved her. She was one of the greatest influences in my life. She's an amazing lady. But I go, so, okay, if a guy goes on stage and just does mean-spirited Alzheimer's jokes, and like, I fucking see an Alzheimer's patient, I'd throw an Alzheimer's patient down an elevator shaft. If he was saying shit like that, just the meanest, I would still look at that guy and go, well, I don't have a problem with that. I know he didn't do that to my grandmother because I have proof that she died in a hospital bed. So him saying he does, I don't know if he does that. And I don't just hear the word Alzheimer's and lock up and have these paralyzed thoughts of my grandmother dying in a hospital bed. I feel Alzheimer's is a terrible thing, and I loved her dearly, but I don't feel, like some people just like, oh, I had a grandmother die and deteriorate with Alzheimer's and dementia and Parkinson's, and I go, but I don't hear those words, and just my fucking brain locks up, and I hate people. You can do Alzheimer's jokes, 20 of them. If they're funny, I'll laugh.
Yeah, that's right. So if they're funny, we'll laugh. And two, if they're not, or if you think they're coming from a bad place and they're mean-spirited, like you say, your autism joke isn't against people with autism, right? But say it was somebody who was hating people with Alzheimer's, you would just think that comic was horrible. Like,
I'd laugh. If it's mean-spirited, I'd probably laugh too.
Yeah, but it's okay. But say it wasn't funny, right? And mean-spirited.
Right.
It's not so much offense as, well, that guy's just an asshole.
Right? Yeah, I wouldn't.
You wouldn't go, you can't say that.
No. I wouldn't walk up to him. I wouldn't complain to anyone else. I wouldn't care.
You just file that away. This guy's lousy.
Yeah. If it's not a funny joke, then that sucks. And if it's a great joke, good. Yeah. But I don't understand how people just freeze up. I mean, I understand if it happened yesterday, how it'd be sensitive if my grandmother died with this Alzheimer's thing, and then there's an Alzheimer's joke. You go, well, this is too fresh. I just had to step outside. But I still wouldn't complain. But
everybody has something in their life, right?
Yeah, we all this human experience. You know, heart attack, stroke, cancer, whatever.
And it's always
car wreck.
Yeah, it's always what. Oh, I'm fine with you making fun of all these other groups, but this one hits me, so you shouldn't say it.
Yeah. Someone wrote me about the autism joke. This woman's like, I have an autistic kid, and I didn't appreciate you saying that. I go, it's not about a kid with it's a kid that tested negative. She's like, the fact that you just mentioned autism within a joke. I'm like, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do? And then I realized I'm not talking to this moron. I tried to write back, then I just let it go. We went back and forth, and I'm like, I can't explain this to this woman. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to win. She's just a moron. And so I just let it go. And I have to just get over it. Because you feel like, I got to convince her. And no, I'm not going to fix those people.
You are a cocky guy on stage. And you, well, what is it?
I think maybe, I guess there is some.
Well, maybe cocky, outgoing, and, sure of your opinions.
Yeah. I guess too, but I'm still an insecure person and all that. I try to share that too, that in all my loud arrogance, that I'm a mess.
You're bluster. You say that off stage you're shy and retiring, or I forget the words you use.
Shy, timid. Yeah.
True?
Yeah. I'm an introvert, like a lot of comics, that even when I'm around a bunch of people, we were talking about it yesterday. I was talking with Baron and Sean, and we were saying, like, being around big parties and groups of people, it just really drains you after a while. And so I'm used to it. So to get ready for the show is one thing. That feels comfortable. But then to be at big parties or to be in a big group, it's taxing. And I feel that, like, I talk with comics, and a lot of people feel that way. It's just, and so I have to have my alone time. And I didn't realize how many, we were talking about this yesterday afternoon, that, I have to be alone. I'm still a shy guy. I don't know if that's the only child thing, but I'm fine being alone for a while, and it takes that before I can face people again in big groups.
Party situations, yeah. You're a comedian, be funny.
Yeah, it's that whole thing, but we're weird that we're a group of, like, introverts.
Yeah.
And I always try to explain my lifestyle, and the comic he's telling me the same thing. He feels the same way, like we were saying yesterday. We all pretty much have the same perspective because we're all introverts. They
got sort of like your alter ego up there.
Yeah, I mean, get on stage, and that actually feels comfortable. Because you still be self-absorbed and still just do it. It's not like all those people in that crowd are talking. That makes me nuts, of course. But like at a party where you mingle and you don't know everyone, that makes me panicky. It makes me nuts. But when I can get up and say whatever I got to say and then get the fuck out of the room, I'm okay with that. I'm a little comfortable. I get nerves, but it's controllable and I'm good with that. But if I have to go to a dinner party or, some kind of family function with a new girlfriend, like to meet her parents, I mean, it's panic.
Make small talk.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
With comics, I can do it. With family and friends and this and that, but I don't know how to do the rest of it. And I'm choosing not to learn, really.
Why bother now?
Yeah. So, I don't know. We're just sort of weird. But it's nice to know that, like, all those comics are sort of quirky like that. The guys I respect, we seem to be all... It's weird how we're all introverted and these strange birds.
Well, and thankfully you're not on stage, and I'm glad to have finally gotten to see your act live in person, and hopefully you'll be back here headlining.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope to get back soon.
And you'll be in no more trouble in the States.
There's no more trouble for me. I'm boring. I'm not doing anything. I'm on the straight and narrow with this shit. I'm fine. I'll keep my paperwork in order, whatever they need.
Good, but
they need another $500, whatever.
Just to come and entertain Canadians.
Just to come up here. And tell my jokes. That's it.
God bless you.
Thank you so much.
All right, Paul, thanks.
Thanks, man.